So I wanted to give you a couple of pointers about typing your answers into MyOpenMath. You can see I've pulled up one of the problems and I've typed my answers in and I got them correct. So I just want you to understand how the notation is read. You can see that I've written my problem below it and it says find all the solutions of the equations. And remember we talked about how that means every time it passes through the circle at that point, that's what the all solutions means. So if I were actually solving this one, since it is multiplied, that's like it's already factored. So I could set each one of these equal to 0 and solve just like I would if I had algebra, and I would work on getting each individual piece by itself. So sine of x in this case would be negative 1/2. And so what I would do is I could actually, if I wanted to, take my calculator and I could hit, on this one I could hit inverse cosine of 0 and it would give me 90 degrees if I had it in degrees. And this of course would be pi over 2. And if I look at my unit circle, where cosine is 0 is here at 90 degrees, but it's also here, remember, because cosine is the x value. It's also at 270 degrees, which is 3 pi over 2. And so if you notice on my answers up there, my first one for A is pi over 2, and it says the answer is A plus k pi. Notice there's no 2 in there, so it's saying it doesn't have to go around the whole circle to get to another answer. So if I look at my unit circle, it's going 180 degrees, 180 degrees, 180 degrees. Every time I go 180 degrees, there is the answer on that circle. And 180 degrees is just pi. So every time it goes 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, there's another answer for cosine x equals 0. So that's why on my A, I've just typed in pi over 2, and it's saying that every time I go 180 degrees, there's a new answer. So that's what that notation is looking at on that one. Now for the next one, when I hit inverse sine on my calculator of negative 1/2, I get negative 30 degrees. Now, these are all going to be positive. So when I do negative 30 degrees, it's down here. So this is the 30-degree angle in that reference triangle. And that 30-degree angle right there is really 330 degrees, which is really 11 pi over 6. So there's where one of my answers is. Only in quadrants 3 and 4 is the sign value negative. So I have one answer. In this other one, in the third quadrant, the 30-degree angle, if this is 180, plus that 30 degrees, the other angle would be 210, which happens to be 7 pi over 6. So every time around the circle, I go to 11 pi over 6, and every time I go to 7 pi over 6, I get that answer of sine being negative 1/2. So if you notice my answers up at the top, I've typed 7 pi over 6, and it says the answer is B plus 2k pi. So that's saying every time I go for 7 pi over 6 around the circle, every time I pass that point, that's an answer. So that's why A, B, and C don't have that notation, because the notation is up in the directions of the problem. And you notice when I typed the pi over 2, it gave a decimal out beside it. So it's saying make sure, I believe on the directions at the beginning it said make sure that your answer is correct to 2 decimal places. But if you go ahead and type in the exact answer, it's going to give you credit for that problem. So that's what these problems look like. So you want to make sure that you're actually typing them in the way that they want you to.